Welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC, where we dive into the inner workings of the conference, the stories behind the stats, and the prestigious awards that make the NEWMAC a powerhouse in Division III. We'll celebrate the academic excellence of our student athletes, the incredible leadership of our coaches and administrators, and break down the path to becoming national champions. It's a lot to unpack, and we're here to do it. It's time to unpack the NEWMAC.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC. My name is Kylie McCarthy, and I am a senior at Babson College, as well as your new host for Unpack the NEWMAC. It's D3 week, so we thought, what better way to kick it off than a podcast with past interns of the NEWMAC, Rece Gobel, and Jake Desautels. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
All righty, so how's your day going? What are you guys up to?
I woke up at 6:30, drove an hour down here, got to work, and immediately I went down to the baseball field to run a stream test with our laptops. And I'm just chilling up here after writing a few emails.
Awesome. And you, Rece?
Nice. Yeah, I didn't get up at 6:30. I just came into work. I live super close, which is nice. Pretty normal day, a couple of meetings, stuff like that. Just
Awesome.
Pretty much another day.
Perfect. So Rece, you're at New Balance, and Jake, you're still with the NEWMAC at Coast Guard, but you guys both went to Springfield College. So can you guys both walk me through how you guys ended up at such an awesome NEWMAC school?
Rece, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I guess I was kind of like a legacy student or whatever you want to call it, because both my parents graduated from Springfield College. It's where they met. They're together now, obviously. And so I ran track in high school, and Springfield College puts on a high school meet every year where they kind of get my section. I'm from New York, upstate, and they have us come compete. It's an awesome track meet. Always looked forward to it. Obviously, my parents always went as well, so they could kind of go back to the old stomping grounds. But when it finally came time to look at colleges, it kind of felt right, I guess, just to go to Springfield. I looked at a couple others, some in New York, some I think in Rhode Island. But yeah, when it came down to it, Springfield just kind of felt like home. So as corny as it sounds, just felt right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a local guy when it comes to Springfield. I'm from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, which is like 15 minutes away from campus. And I'm sort of a legacy student too, maybe not as much as Rece, but my uncle is a graduate of Springfield as well. He actually played football there. He was a PE student, and he played on the football team alongside Coach Sarasulo, the current football coach there. But yeah, so just going throughout high school, when I was like looking at different schools to go to, I kind of decided that I wanted to stay local. And I also wanted to study sport management. And I had heard a lot about how good of a sport management program Springfield had. And I thought it was just such a nice coincidence that there was just a really good college, a really good sport management college just down the road for me. And that's why I ended up going there.
Awesome. Those are both great reasons and both very different. So it just shows that kind of different journey that we all have to kind of get to these colleges and make an impact. So the NEWMAC is special in which it offers these internships for students. And can you guys both tell me what drew you to the NEWMAC internship program?
Yeah, I could go. So I was my senior year. It was kind of my like senior internship. So I pretty much spent the semester interning with the NEWMAC. And I think I had initially just reached out to Patrick and Taylor, and they both responded super quick. They were both awesome. We met, kind of chatted about what an internship might look like, because I hadn't known anybody who had interned with the NEWMAC prior. And it looked like a really cool area. I was looking into college athletics. I'd had some experience interning in a few other athletic offices, one at Springfield, one at like Siena College. So I was kind of on the fence as to whether I wanted to go the college athletics route. And yeah, I just met with them, kind of got things going, obviously got into the internship, loved it. I had a ton of fun. Taylor and Patrick are awesome people, super fun to work with, as you both probably know. And then obviously I ended up not going into college athletics, but I used a ton of the stuff that I learned while at the NEWMAC to get basically where I am now. I think it was like programming, branding, marketing, all stuff that I use now at New Balance. So yeah, overall super positive experience. I loved it a lot. and just good people.
That's awesome. I think, yeah, the people part, your company is so important as well. And Jake, how about you?
Yeah, so I was in a similar boat my senior year at Springfield. I was looking for a site to do my senior internship. And I had known at that point that I wanted to stay in college athletics, specifically athletics administration. I had already done an internship in Springfield College's athletics department, and I was just really into the idea of like being part of something like that, especially at like the smaller college level. I feel like that's such like a deeper connection between like fans and the athletics there. So Dr. Gilmore, actually, one of the professors at Springfield, she's the head of the sport management department there, uh, let me know that the NEWMAC was looking for a new intern. And I had heard that Rece and another Springfield guy, Adam Mula, I believe he did his internship the semester before you, Rece.
Yep.
But yeah, I had heard both of them had done internships, so I had like a little in there because they clearly love Springfield College people.
Clearly.
Yeah. So Dr. Gilmore gave me Taylor's contact info. I was able to schedule a little Zoom meeting with her, got to talk to her about why I would be just a great addition to their staff for the spring semester. And that was it. They had me on. I had my first little like meeting, like as the official NEWMAC intern right before the spring semester started. I believe it was the pre-championship meeting for the swim and dive championships at MIT. And yeah, from that, I got to do like a lot of like communications based stuff. I got to I basically my big project throughout that entire semester was updating all of the history tabs for each sport on the NEWMAC website. And then I also got to write like a really cool article about a few NEWMAC student athletes that got to go to the NCAA convention in Phoenix. And I used some of those skills that I learned from there to sort of just like bridge into going after a sports communications career. And that's how I got to Coast Guard.
I love that, Jake. I think you just touched on my next question. So I was going to ask both of you your favorite project that you worked on with the NEWMAC. So Reese, take it away because Jake already shared his. But if you have another,
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, I think one of the projects I got to work on, it was kind of cool when I started. It was the 50th anniversary of the NEWMAC.
Mhm.
So it was a ton of fun to see all the kind of events and stuff they were looking at putting on, some of the programs they were going to run. And I was tallying up, it was, I think, the like NEWMAC kind of like athletes that they were going to post about, like just the top ones in the past 50 years. And all the coaches and I think the athletic directors had voted on who they were going to kind of represent. And so I got to go through and check out all those tallies, read into what some of these athletes had done, some of their accomplishments. And it was just really cool to read about all the stuff that the student athletes in the NEWMAC have done. So I'd say that probably has to be my favorite.
I love that. And I think, the NEWMAC is so special in which it's so competitive. And you guys just mentioned that the NEWMAC loves Springfield. I'll ignore the Babson Springfield rivalry for this purpose only. But it is so special in which we produce such amazing student athletes that go on to do just such awesome things like the two of you. So, Jake, I have a question for you. I mean, sports ops, being an SID is not easy.
No, it's
And
not.
so what draws you specifically to this field? And is it passion or do you have a story that led you to where you are and what's so special about this field that you draws you there?
I'd say it's both of those. I definitely have a passion for this. The whole reason I got into wanting to be an SID was because of my NEWMAC internship. When I
Awesome.
went to the swim and dive championships at MIT, I got to be around a lot of the NEWMAC SIDs. And I just got to hear a lot of great stories from them, and that made me really want to push for pursuing this as a career. But passion-wise, I've always been a big stats guy. I love just looking at the numbers and stuff. That's obviously one of the biggest responsibilities of an SID, just being in charge of your team's stats. I also get to create stuff, which is really cool. I get to take photos, turn them into graphics. Pretty much anything you see on the Coast Guard Athletics Instagram, that was me or Jason. He's the head SID here. And then alongside that, I really enjoy getting to be a part of all of these like athletics achievements and being allowed to like tell these athletes stories and stuff. Like a couple days ago, I was shooting pictures for our baseball game earlier in the week against Mass Maritime, and I posted a bunch of them on our Instagram. One of them was a photo of one of our freshman outfielders. And I got a lot of notifications that like a lot of his friends and family from back home were reposting on their stories, hyping him up. And that just felt like so special that I was able to make like even just like a really small moment like that happen. It's something I just really enjoy about this job.
I love that. Communications and being in this field, just that storytelling piece, the way you make people feel and the platform you give people to kind of express themselves, doing their favorite things is something that I'm so passionate about as well. So I just love that that was your point to touch on there. Rece, you were a D3 athlete at Springfield, like you mentioned, track and field. So now you're in that, fit and testing, wearing field. What do you think kind of being a D3 athlete, going to Springfield, doing all these internships, kind of how did that transfer over to at NEWMAC?
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton that I was able to kind of take over. And like I said, I'm not in like college athletics now in that department, but I work with a ton of NCAA athletes. Actually a few NEWMAC athletes even as well, a couple Springfield, a couple Babson, all have been great to work with. But yeah, I mean, just being able to kind of take that background, I understand, I guess, the balance between school and competition for a lot of you guys. So it's helped me tremendously when I'm trying to kind of get some samples out, some prototypes out to athletes and get them to test. Sometimes stuff goes wrong. Sometimes an athlete gets hurt. I mean, obviously, we got to be able to kind of work with them on that stuff. So being able to just understand what it feels like to be an athlete or a student athlete and all the different things you have to juggle, which is a lot, has definitely helped kind of translate into what I'm doing now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that piece about balance. Balancing being a student and an athlete is so important. And that's one of the most amazing opportunities that we are able to do at a D3 level. So I guess, can you guys both speak about why D3? Rece, maybe for you, it was why D3? Why did you choose to run D3? Why did you choose to go to Springfield kind of in that D3 aspect? And Jake, now you're working in D3. Why D3 for the both of you?
Yeah, I know for myself, I had looked at a couple different schools. I think most were D3, one or two were D1. And again, like I said, ultimately it came down to just the school itself, less than the division even. I felt at home kind of at Springfield, continued to feel that way in the NEWMAC as well. But I think there's just a really nice balance between doing fun stuff like this, like a podcast, and still getting to compete and, get on the track in my case. So it just offered me, I guess, more opportunities, outside of just living to compete, which I know a lot of athletes do at some of the higher levels.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I touched upon it a little bit earlier, I believe, but I think the relationship between a fan and a D3 athletics team is like way, way closer, way more passionate than that of a fan and like a D1 team, honestly. Because you look at the people at most D3 games, it's friends of the athletes, it's people who are in their classes with them, it's family, it's people that these guys know personally. You go to D1, like, yeah, you got a lot of people in there, but it's just people who are like just fans of the team. They don't have that personal connection with the players. And I think that just makes it all more special to me to be at these games, to see this happen and to see all those friends and families and classmates just rooting for these people that they know in their lives actively.
Definitely. I could tell you at the women's lacrosse games, it is fully our parents and our friends. And, we always joke about that, but it is really special. So Jake, I think something you mentioned is you get to kind of be at the front end of that social media piece. So what are some cool trends that kind of excite you in that space that you're able to, take advantage of in your role?
Well, see, honestly, that's a difficult question because I don't think we're exactly like allowed to take advantage of a lot of the sillier trends because we're a federal service academy. We kind of have like an image to maintain. You know what I mean? Like stuff like showing like coaches like baby pictures of them. I would love to do that on here. I think we were a little late to that party though.
Yeah.
But still, it's just really fun to be able to just highlight all the achievements of our athletes in general. Like I was at NCAA Wrestling Nationals a few weeks ago over in Providence. I got to see our guy at 133 win his second straight championship, and that was just an absolutely amazing thing to witness. I was at NEWMAC championships early this year, taking photos and stuff, just making a ton of posts celebrating our guys winning their races. I got a really, really cool picture of our anchor in the 4x400 freestyle, just like raising his fist, like pointing at me with the camera after he had like this ridiculous like comeback win to end the event. I love like being a part of those moments, I think.
Yeah, it's so special. And as you mentioned, your Federal Service Academy, these guys are doing so much training outside of their sports as well, guys and girls. So it's so special to watch all that hard work really pay off, and being a part of that, I'm sure, is amazing. And Rece, you ran track and field, and now you're working in this shoe kind of industry. What's one piece of, something that you really valued as a runner that you try to make sure that you implement when you're going through these tests for shoes and such at New Balance?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what comes to mind for me is consistency. So as a runner, anyone who runs, or I guess just trains in general, even, you can work like day in and day out, for months or years at a time. And then it's like you take like a week, maybe 2 weeks off, and it feels like everything is just left. Like all the fitness is left, maybe all the strength is left, which is tough. But I think, just being able to be disciplined and be consistent is huge in what I do now. We're working with a lot of data, a lot of athletes. So, it's tough to work on a timeline, I guess. So being able to kind of consistently deliver on those timelines, as corporate as that sounds, it's just been super helpful. And yeah, I guess some of that discipline is just carried over, hopefully.
Yeah, discipline is really important, and you get that from a young age when you're an athlete. I always say that being an athlete has set me up for failure in the best way. It set me up for feedback in the best way, and I'm sure you both can agree. So you guys obviously both were athletes, whether that was at the high school level or the collegiate level. So what's a lesson that you learned as an athlete that you carry into your professional career?
All you, Jake. I'm gonna have to think.
Honestly, as a former pitcher in baseball, you can never expect anything to go right, especially as an SID. There's so many like moving parts. Obviously, you want things to go right. You want to go in there confident that things will go right, but you also have to have that like mental fortitude, in case things go wrong, to just like adjust to make those adjustments on the fly, to stay cool in the face of really stressful situations, and just not make things worse than they already are at times.
Definitely. I think adjusting fast is something that athletes are so accustomed to, and it is so important to have that goldfish mentality. 3 seconds, think about it, in and out, and move on to the next. So I love that piece of advice, Jake.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one. I would honestly echo, Kylie, kind of what you had mentioned earlier about just dealing with failure. Sports are funny because they're so extreme. You experience like the highest of highs, but then you also get into the lowest of lows, whether it be a loss or an injury or something like that. So I think sports has ultimately just taught me to kind of understand that, it's going to be really great at sometimes, and to understand that it's not going to last forever. And then also when the pendulum swings, it's going to suck sometimes, and that's also not going to last forever. So just kind of enjoy and appreciate where you're at, whether you're at either side of that pendulum, can just help to kind of live in the moment, I guess.
Totally. I'm nearing the end of my senior year, and enjoying where I'm at is something that I have said, I think, 10 times in the past 2 weeks. So Rece, I echo that as well. My last question for the both of you is, you're both working professionally now and you've made it out on the other side. So what's a piece of advice for athletes or just anyone kind of looking to get into the sports world in any capacity?
I really can't stress the importance of like connections, sorry. Having just good connections when you're going for these jobs and stuff. Jason, I mentioned him earlier. He's the head SID here. He was sitting on the interview committee for my position way back at the end of summer. He mentioned to me, I put Taylor Teixeira as a reference. He mentioned to me that Taylor and her testimony for me, just as a worker and as a professional, was really the tipping point in me getting hired for this position. And I also, honestly, with like all the job interviews and stuff over the summer, a lot of those came from my connections as well. Like Dr. Gilmore sent me a few, and sure she still does that for a lot of former students at Springfield as well. Taylor sent me a bunch as well. So connections in the sports world can take you really far if you use them correctly.
And meaningful connections with
Yes.
that, I think, is so important. It's not just about having one conversation. It's about staying in contact. It's about updating people. They might not have a role for you now, but maybe 5 months down the line, you get an email from someone who's thinking of you. So I think that's a great piece of advice. So communication really does play a role in those connections. You were right at the beginning. Rece, how about you?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be a proper Springfield sport management grad if I didn't mention networking in some aspect. It's hammered into us, from freshman year right away. Oh, yeah. And there's a reason for it. Like Jake had said, like just forming those connections is huge. It's how I got my job here. My now manager is also a Springfield grad. He also ran. I reached out to him, I think my junior year, to chat about what he did. And it was 2 years later that he had sent me a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, we've got an internship. You should apply. So yeah, I mean, those meaningful connections, like you said, are huge. And then I think also going into like the interviewing scene can definitely be intimidating, especially with all the rejections you're probably going to get or no answers. So I guess maybe a specific one could be when you're in those interviews, obviously prepping for them is hugely important, but then also understanding that these jobs are probably looking for a good person first and then a good worker second, which sounds kind of weird. But ultimately, these hiring managers or kind of managers in whatever aspect, they are going to be working with you for an extended period of time every single week. So being able to just be personable, is just a huge aspect into getting into the professional world.
That's been a huge theme in this whole conversation, just the people you surround yourself with, and especially in the work world. I mean, you spend a lot of time at work. So I have had just the best time chatting with you guys. You are both representing D3 in the NEWMAC in an awesome way in your professional roles. So thank you so much for your time and coming on. And I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your journeys. I can just see a bright future ahead of the both of you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was good to be here. This is awesome, too, that you guys are putting this together. I love it.
Super exciting. Well, thank you, Rece and Jake. Have a great rest of your days.
Thank you. You too.